Welcome, folks, to today's Successgineering Your Life Blab. This is Ravi Tangri, and what this is about is how do you create the success that you want in your life. I've been spending a lot of time learning what are the systems, habits, and the processes that the masters really use. And what this show is about is bringing in people that are really creative and successful in doing this. And my guest today is Linda Edgecombe from across the continent.
Well, they're in.
We're having a transcontinental call. Linda's a friend of mine from the Canadian Association of Speakers, and she has been named one of the top 60 keynoters in the world. And Linda, I was wondering if you could share a little bit of what your passion is and what you share in your work, what you do in your work.
Oh my gosh. You know, the joke is I've been at this 24 years, speaking, writing, training, that kind of stuff. And I have no elevator speech, never have. But truthfully, I am just a big believer in creating a really good life with really simple essentials. What I've really got passionate about. So I've always talked about work-life for years. Work-life, it's kind of a category. Work-life balance. In the early years, it was stress management. Then it became work-life balance. Then it became personal accountability. But all of it is kind of the same thing. But in the past, I'd say 4 years of my life, mostly because it was me who drove it, because I needed it more than anybody, I became really curious about how I'd become this person who I wasn't liking very much. How could me, Miss Top 60, inspirational, whatever that flippin' thing is supposed to actually mean, how had I become the most uptight, cranky, ticked off, anxious, overweight, blah, blah, blah person, and I didn't recognize myself anymore. So I went on a quest to figure me out. And in that, I've done a lot of things. Now, I would never, and I say this to every audience I speak to, ever profess to think that I freaking got it, that I know everything, because I hope I never get to that place of arrogance. But I think there's a few things I've kind of figured out. And so I walked across Spain by myself in the month of March, and out of 35 days, it rained or snowed for 30 of them. And there was no one there. And I always figured, on the road, as a speaker and we travel a lot, I do alone pretty well. I figure out, I know how to get around. I can go without talking to people. I go to movies by myself, eat by myself, blah, blah, blah. But for 35 days, and literally I went for days and days without speaking to anybody. It's very odd to be in your head that long. But from that walk, I wrote a book called Breaking Busy, trying to find peace in the chaos. And so that is what I really become sort of passionate about. And it's actually become a very, very simple process for me, actually. And love, I can talk about that, or I can.
Sure, if you can share a little bit about what you discovered in that, that's amazing.
Well, and I've always been very, very open about this. Since my children were born, I have had two, with both of my girls, I had two fairly significant bouts of postpartum depression, and kind of figured out that if I was active, I could keep it at bay. And about 2.5 years ago, my husband was in a very bad workplace accident, and his accident affected me really, really. I now look back and realize, and done some research, it's very common for the people around a person who gets injured to get quite depressed. Well, I got really, really ticked off, to be honest with you, first, and then I got really, really depressed. And that's when I decided I was going to walk across Spain. But anyway, so I have always been fairly open and talked about, mental health. In order to manage mental health, there's some essentials. The number one essential for managing mental health is you have to manage your energy.
Yep.
And how I manage energy is that I have to move my body. So movement, and I always say it doesn't matter how you do it. Well, I don't care whether you're a walker, a runner, a biker, a crawler, a golfer, a gardener. But in terms of
Or a dancer.
or a dancer, or a dancer, and anyway, so just literally, I always say, get oxygen in your blood system, moving through your body more often. End of story. And it's been my soapbox. I mean, I have a kinesiology degree. I worked for Participaction. For those people who remember what Participaction was,
Mm-hmm.
I've rah-rahed the movement, but never really took it seriously. I mean, that's not saying. In the last probably 13 months now, even after a year after I walked across Spain, when I go out, and I went out this morning, so I go early. I usually go twice a day because I have dogs, and they literally have saved me. But I walk mindfully. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's that I know, and for me, and again, I'm trying to manage my energy. I would definitely want oxygen in my blood system. I want to feel good. I want to get the endorphins from, my heart rate going up. But I mindfully know that when I go out, I'm going out to lower my cortisol levels.
Yeah.
So that, for me, as a woman who's in her mid-50s, that's really, really important to me. And that has shifted a huge part of who I've become in this last year. So number one for managing energy is movement. Number two for managing energy is laughter. And because of the beautiful stuff that comes out of laughter, which is, again, you get massive endorphins. And we all have it. We're born with an innate ability to laugh. We tend to kind of carve ourselves into a style of humor that we like as we grow older. And some of us get fairly staid, and some of us just stay kind of raunchy. But, there is, because you're sitting on the East Coast, there's a saying that says humor in Canada starts on the East Coast and it diminishes as you go west. Because, for me, when I get to speak anywhere in Atlantic Canada, it's like, it's a gift. Because you want to laugh, and you have a outrageous sense of humor. And for me, because I love walking to the edge of humor, so laughter is critical. So I always say, when you're having a tough day, don't go home and watch another episode of, Silence of the Lambs or something. Don't go watch. Yeah. If you need a laugh, find something that's really funny. Whatever. And so whatever your style of humor is, find your own funny faster. That's literally how I say it. Whatever your style is, find your funny faster. And the more you look for it, the more you find it. So movement, laughter, and the third piece, which is critical in managing energy, is creating spaces in your day where you have the ability to just be. So nothing on. I believe it should be outside, but honestly, anywhere. Just turn stuff off, give yourself 10 minutes max, if that's really all you need, to create a space of nothingness to just be. And it's in the just being where all your ideas, where ideas can land. Like, I become kind of a disciple now of Liz Gilbert's work because I just love her latest book, Big Magic. It's the one book I've given away. I've bought and given it away 8 times because every time I just love it. And because she just says that all the ideas, the things that come to us, when you're in the middle of the night and you have this thing that, it lands on you, you can either do something about it or you don't have to. But when we jam our days so full of stuff, whatever it is, and you can check email, that's just cluttering. So we create clutter in our lives so that we don't have to deal. That's really what clutter is. We don't have to, it can be physical clutter in your house or your office, or it could be mental clutter, or, I jokingly say that when when I was little, I knew that they would do this, but I didn't know really why at the time. But whenever my parents, when the shit hit the fan, literally, in my parents' relationship, which it does in any 50-year-long relationship, they'd renovate something. Like, whenever something big, they'd renovate. And I'd go, oh, here we go, new kitchen cabinets, there we go, and, new carpets. Because that becomes the distraction that you don't have to actually deal in the moment of whatever this tough, because most of us don't really want to deal, so we put some clutter in the way of not having to deal. So back to the space thing. When you mindfully create spaces. So that's why I've mindfully gone walking every morning, because that's the space that I allow the thoughts. Because all of us have everything you absolutely need is there.
And you know what? I'm very sensitive to energy, and I can actually see the difference in you over the last couple of years.
Mm. Thank you.
Like when I saw you in December, we didn't spend a lot of time, but I could sense there's more of a groundedness to you.
Yeah, and
I could feel that.
a big part of that was cortisol, and I mean, you know, our business is I'm on the road. I have 2 children. We for the longest time we had a 8-acre farm that we farmed, a fruit farm, and my husband runs a very, very busy, active construction company here in the Okanagan. And so, big. I always say, big life, big debt, every toy you could imagine, and big stress. And I just decided one day I came over to the kitchen counter. I don't think you can see this, but I went tap tap. I want off this treadmill. Now, I didn't say I want out of this marriage. I just want off the treadmill. And it took a lot of mindful work for me to back it out because I just thought, I don't know. I don't know that it's having 2 of everything, sleds, dirt bikes, boats, all the stuff was worth it. And so,
Okay, so
sense of peace, which is a big deal for a lot of people,
yeah.
takes some work, takes some conscious work to get there.
So a couple of thoughts come out from that, and one big question. Number one, I agree with you. I think the busyness is, I think there's a lot of people who feel that there's a hole, there's something that's not there, and they don't want to face that. And I think they use the busyness so that they don't have to.
Absolutely.
I think that's part of the reason we've created a culture of busyness, because we don't want to be still, because then we have to face that emptiness that's there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, that's the absolute truth. The other side of busyness is that our culture, your and my culture. So I'll say anybody who is let's say probably now 40 years of age and older, we created busy because our parents weren't like this. I mean, they were hard workers, but they were not busy. I mean, on a Tuesday night in Edmonton, and I remember I was a teenager and air cadets, could be minus 45, and I'm taking the bus home. My dad's at home watching hockey. There is no flipping way he was coming there to pick me up. He's like, figure it out. He'd say, figure it out, kid. And so what do? We figured it out.
Yeah.
But
well, it's a baby boomer thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We have done the exact opposite of our parents. We're the first generation to do the exact opposite. Kids are in 3 things and 2 sports and an arts program. So you drive and drive and drive, and you got this going there and this going there. And I mean, if you aren't building a new house, you're renovating the old house.
And then all of a sudden the kids are gone, and you're wondering who the heck you are.
Well, believe me,
who the heck you're living with.
I'm 1 week in. My youngest took off for Australia 2 weeks ago. I'm 1 week into going. Now what? I mean, I don't have anybody to cook for. And as a mom, I'm going, it's kind of started when she graduated. I'm going, okay, oh, shoot, they're okay, God, I'm going to be one of those ladies. I'm one of those ladies. Don't get me wrong, I can fill up my day with my work stuff, but still, when 3 or 4 o'clock when I'm used to, can I make you something? Can I do something? Can I get, and hopefully it'll pass, but yeah, I pride myself in being a pretty good mom. And that's I know it's a big, huge part of my identity. So it's a lot.
And who are you?
And who am I? Well, I'm teaching a class right now, and hopefully by the end of the 7th module, I'll figure it out.
So the question that I had coming out of this, because you mentioned it a few times there, is a lot of it in that quiet space when you go for the walk, the mindfulness. Doing whatever you're doing mindfully. You said that a number of times. Of so many people, that's really hard to do. Like I flashed to the movie version of the Eat, Pray, Love. I love there's a scene where she was trying to meditate and had to go for an hour. And she sits down and goes, blah, 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 and must be an hour now, and looks, and it's barely been 30 seconds.
I know.
Right? So what has been your challenge? Because I know you used to be and so how did you get to be mindful? How did you learn to be mindful? Whoops.
Self-preservation. Sometimes we're forced into it. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty transparent person, so whether your viewers like this or not, whatever, I'll just say it. I just got to the point where I really didn't like me.
Yeah.
And so I always say none of us really ever change, like very, very little, until it gets tough enough, until it hurts enough. Like most people, even then, sometimes we don't change. But for the most part, majority of us don't usually do much until it stops working. And either it stops working in your own health, or it stops working in your relationships, or it stops working, And I asked because I did a TED talk on this, and so most of this it's out there in the public anyway. And I said to my husband, I go, just so you know, because it was a big event, and I'm going to be talking about you on stage. Hope you're okay with that. But I asked my youngest, I said, just before I went on, maybe a day before I did the talk, so do you think I've changed in the last year, Josie? She says, I think you're just a much calmer presence in the room. Because everyone's always known me as being, very funny, very loud, very boisterous. And don't get me wrong, I love that part of me. But
Yeah.
I'm really much more comfortable in the bit more settled me too. I love both sides. Don't get me wrong, and not that they're polar opposites. There's just something.
No.
There's just something to being comfortable in your own skin, and it's been a long time since I had been. So I mindfully, when I walk, I go, I take a big meaning that I'm very curious. I really notice. I'm looking out my window as I'm saying this because I live on a park and goes uphill behind my house. I noticed a lot more stuff. I noticed that the moss has already started to grow this morning when I was hiking. I noticed, yesterday I had an amazing hike. So I had an amazing sunrise and I saw an eagle. Just things, instead of me just walking and going, oh, shit, I got to get this done and get back to the office and get blah, 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 blah. Even if it's only 10 minutes, I'm out there, or it's an hour, it doesn't matter to me. I'm in the space of being there.
So you're doing that now. How did you, or perhaps it was, spending all that time on the pilgrimage in Spain, but how did you first get to that point of getting out of your head and being present? Because that's the whole key to mindfulness, is being present. It is. And that's a huge journey for most people.
And that's what it is, though. It doesn't just happen. So you people are going, oh God, I don't know what that means. Well, it's a practice. The reason they call yoga practice or medicine a practice or anything a practice is because it takes practice. And it doesn't you don't just become this cool yogi by taking a class. First, you have to get over the fact that your arse is killing you because you're stretching it so badly before you can actually get into a meditative state. You just have to do it. So it's you do it. Like she sat there for a minute and she's like, oh, and it took her a long time to get sort of out of her head and just, into the right side of her brain, getting out of the thinking side of her brain. A couple of great resources for anybody who's interested. What really switched me in last year, because I started walking. I decided I was going to change how I do food, how I do a bunch of things, but I watched one of the Super Soul Sundays, Oprah's, and Daniel Pink was on it.
Yes.
Who wrote A Whole New Mind and Why Right Brainers Are Going to Rule the Future. So I kind of liked the interview, so I got the book. And he's a researcher. He's a lawyer by schooling, but phenomenal, well-sold author. And the part that really struck me was a piece in it, a sense that he calls symphony, which is the creative side of ourselves. But I've never really done anything creative. That's why I'm saying my little piece of artwork from the East Coast. But so I decided I'm going to get curious. I'm going to sign up for, if something interests me, I'm going to sign up for it. Okay, so this is part of practice. I signed up for art classes. I went to an art retreat that included a silent medicine walk. Well, I'd done the silent thing before, so that was easy. I took pottery classes, a number of cooking classes. I love cooking. That's a process for me as well. And I realized how much I've never thought I was a control freak, how much I was in my head wanting to control this piece of art that I was trying to create. And one of my instructors said, she goes, I kept on, look at her, freaking messed it up or something. And she's like, Linda, no, nothing's ever messed up. You don't have to change anything. You just have to add to it. I went, oh.
Huh.
So that gave me permission to go, okay, just put some flipping, because you have a freak out. If you're not an artist, you have a freak out trying to put the piece first. What am I going to paint here? Get out of your head. And that, again, is just it just takes doing it and doing it and doing it.
But that's also, I mean, it's just scared to me. That's a beautiful, beautiful philosophy for life.
It is. You don't have to change.
Nothing's broken. You just have to add to it. Mm-hmm. Wow. I like that.
Yeah. So it was a great way to, anyway, so I'm at this retreat with this cool lady, Whitney Frey is her name, and she's written a book called The Artist Within. And I drove from here like 9 hours down to Oregon State and this cool little town. And, you know, it was just one of those, it was very hippie-ish. It was just awesome. And on the counter is Liz Gilbert's book. And I said, during my silent retreat, because I had like 36 hours to do whatever I wanted, I went and started reading this book. And this,
which is called, sorry, the light was shining on it. I can't. Big Magic.
Big Magic. Creative Living Beyond Fear. And literally the first line in this book says, if you want to create an extraordinary life, we have to do it leading with a whole lot more curiosity and a lot less fear. And, but what I love what she says in here, so her as a writer spoke to me more than Daniel Pink did, but he got me on the track, right? But what she says about fear, because fear is what keeps most of us, you know, exactly where we are, is she goes, you don't have to get rid of fear to do the stuff you really want to do in your life. All you have to do is just put fear, have an agreement with your fear. Like put fear in your back pocket, so to speak. You know, don't let fear touch your radio or take over the steering wheel, but fear's coming along for the ride, whether you like it or not. If you want to do anything, and I guarantee you, anybody who sees this, we all have some, I don't know, gnawing, some curiosity, some things. You're going to have some fear around it. And,
okay, let me challenge you a little bit on what you said there. Okay, something that, first of all, the physiology of excitement and the physiology of fear is identical. It's the same.
Yep.
That's a fact. And I'm going to take what you and I do. Sorry?
It causes adrenaline.
Yeah, all the endorphins, all the chemicals, everything, you know, your pupils dilate, everything is the same. Mm-hmm. There's a matter of interpretation, right? Okay. The other thing is that you and I do, as a matter of course, in our living, we live what is the greatest fear to mankind, which is speaking in front of people. Okay. But for me,
valuable.
Sorry?
Oh, shoot. Okay, go on.
Well, the thing is, you know, and I used to be terrified to speak to two people at once, and now, for me, I just go, right. I don't get a trace of nervousness or fear, and what I realize is that nervousness or fear, it's energy, and it's energy that you're trapping. Yes. And what I discovered at one point was you have to use that energy to reach out and grab. And so I'll challenge you that fear's got to go anyway. Is fear just energy that we can potentially challenge whatever we're doing? We've done it in speaking. Mm-hmm. Could we and others not do it in anything else they do?
Oh, yes is the short answer to that. Fear, you know, because everybody's heard this, you know, you have fight or flight. Yeah. Most people don't do either of those. They freeze.
Yep.
So the shit comes up. They don't fight and they don't flight. They just, and out of fear, they stay exactly where they are. And the majority of the planet hovers. And the reason that we hover in the frozen state is because where we are is not bad. This is not bad. But the other part of the human condition is that there's some, I call it neaglings. I can't think of a better, and another word. There's gnawing, there's neaglings, there's something, there's curiosity that people want to just, I've thought of this, and then pack it away, put it back again, and so if, the old feel the fear and do it anyway, it's going to be there. It's going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
What I have found, so speaking yes is a big fear for the majority of the planet. For me in my career probably in the last 5 years, because I've gotten pretty, what's the word? Stayed, but yeah, I can do this. I could do this upside down, hanging in my shower naked. I can still deliver a presentation because I've done it so many times. So I've had to challenge myself, even within my own career, to go and do a few things that scared the crap out of me. Because then you get a little bit of a history. See, courage doesn't come before you do something. It comes after you've done it. You don't get courage to go. You don't get to, until you've walked through it. Then you're going, oh. And once you have one of those under your belt, that's like any team. So any team that's gone to the Olympics, any team that's been to the NHL, they understand, they've had the nerves, they know how to calm them, they know how to put or line them. That courage comes after you've experienced it, but you can't experience it unless you walk into it. And to be honest with you, you can't really experience it unless you've walked into it and you totally crapped the bed too. Like you.
Well, so most people interpret courage as what it takes to walk into it, but you're saying it comes after. So what does it take to walk into it?
Blind leap of faith. The sheer desire, you know that there's more than what you got going on. And I'll tell you, my conversations I had with my class yesterday, and these are majority professional women, and I do have a class of all women, between probably 45 is the youngest to 59. They know there's more going on than what they've been producing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a bit of a little nudge, little push, little inspiration, so they know it. I posted because I took a picture. Where's my camera? I hiked yesterday and I found this book and I posted it this morning. There's one of my trails, a couple of my trails have these really inspirational things on them. People just put them up. And there's a book on one of my trails in this cool spot where it's in a bag and there's a pen and you can write down your thoughts. And anyways, so the quote that says on this book, and I just posted on my Facebook, we are not old until regrets start taking up the place of our dreams. So when we have more regrets than we have dreams, that's when we're starting to get old.
Yeah.
So all of us
and the sad thing is there are young people that are there.
I know.
Yeah. So Linda, I mean, this is delightful. Could go on for a whole lot more. But
here's what's crazy. I am way deeper. I've talked way more, I call it intensely than most people ever expect. Linda Edgecombe's going to come on and we're going to tell some stories and this and that. So that's one thing I've become is more intense. I'm even more committed to, because I see the difference, right?
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's different.
No, it's wonderful. It's different and wonderful. Now, Linda, are there any places people can go to find out more information about what you do and so on, and any sites or any links you'd like to provide to people?
I have a fairly not aggressive, active YouTube channel that I do almost every other day. I call it Tips from the Trails, and where I share some of my insights. And I don't ever have lipstick on. I look like I'm hiking in the morning, and sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So I have this YouTube channel just under my name, Linda Edgecombe, Tips from the Trails, and you get that. Subscribe for that. I have a lot of people who on my I have two Facebook pages. I have a personal one and I have a public one, like most of us do. But both of them are used for my business. I do a lot of writing and a lot of posting. And if you want a free copy of Breaking Busy, you can get that right off the front page of my site. Just click on the thing and it's yours. And it's a how did we get busy? How do we get here? What's it doing to us? And how can you, if you want to step off the treadmill, steps to do that. That's what that book will do. Also, I've written, this middle section of the book is all about my Camino trip. That's
So that's lindaedgecombe.com?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's lindaedgecombe.com. Google me. As my dad would say, I have more shit than Shinola. I mean, hell, some of my husband's favorite quotes, he Googles it and my name comes up. He's so mad because he's just, not that we're competitive. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But so yeah, that's, I'm coming to Atlantic Canada in May. I'm, all over the place, but I have a beautiful retreat coming up in April at Sparkling Hills, which is a Skowarski family-owned resort on Okanagan Lake here in the Okanagan, and my second year in a row. It's April 14th, 15th. That's sort of a live event I'm hosting, and it's pretty amazing, actually, to be honest.
So all the information for that will be on lindaedgecombe.com.
Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you, Linda, very much. And thank you guys for watching. This is, again, Successgeneering Your Life Blab every Friday at 10 a.m. on Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and everywhere else at your appropriate time. And just to remind you, there is, if you go to successgeneeringyourlife.com, you can get a free 3-part video course on starting to figure out what that, if there's something that we talked about, is that missing something in your life, starting to figure out what that is and starting to create that. And of course, on Facebook, at facebook.com/successgeneering, you're going to find this blab and all the others, and on my YouTube channel. Have yourselves an amazing weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.